Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today I'm bringing you guys a video on BO6 spawns and understanding the spawn logic within BO6, and we're specifically talking about ranked play. And so we're going to break down spawns for most of the maps, and I'm just going to basically give you guys a rundown of how spawns are going to work for each map on Hardpoint, and then we'll dive into control towards the end of the video and give you guys sort of a rough idea. Now, the idea with this video is to just give you a rough base of how to understand the logic of the spawn system of this game. And then from there, you should be able to figure out how it works for each hill and each situation. I figured this is the best way to go about it, because if I do a video breaking down each map with each hardpoint location, it would just kind of get tedious. And I think if we talk about the logic of the spawns and how the spawns work, you're going to get a much better idea. So the way spawns work in this game, we have squad spawns. And so when you're in one location and your teammate dies, if that is a spawn that isn't being blocked by the other team, you're going to spawn there. Right? So if I'm back here, my entire team dies, and the enemy team is on the hill, then my teammates are all going to spawn back here. Now, with each hardpoint location, there's going to be two spawns that typically either team can get. Those are the base spawn points for that hardpoint, right? There could be spawns all over the map, but each hardpoint has two dedicated spawns. On top of that, there's going to be an extra spawn where you spawn even further. And we're going to go into that in a little bit. And those of you guys that want to get more advanced, if you can do that and pull that off and make the other team spawn even further, then you're in the money. So for example, for P2, it's going to go to P3 here. But for P2, the general spawns are there at Palms, a little bit further than that in front of P4. And the other one is back here. Because we have squad spawns in this game, there's a good chance that the enemy team could be back here and in the front. And so, but if you're on the hill, your teammates are going to spawn back here. And that's just kind of where BO6 is it's a little harder to predict every single spawn. But once you have this general idea, it's very easy to predict, okay, if I have a teammate behind P2 and I'm over here, but the enemy has the hill, then they're all going to spawn on the hill, right? So if I'm here, I have a teammate here, the enemy has the hill, and we kill 3 of them, they're most likely just going to spawn right here behind the hill, unless your teammate is looking right there, right? So we know that now. There's 2 spawn locations for each hill, and then there's an extra spawn. Now, figuring out where that extra spawn is just kind of comes with playtime or understanding how the spawns work, and it's going to be different for every hill. So here for P3, I know we're 1 hill behind. It's on P4 now. But if once the hill pops for P3, if you're back behind Art, you should be able to get Art spawns and spawn in this general building. I call it Art. People call it all sorts of things. So your teammates might spawn here behind the statue. They might spawn behind Art or in the bottom. This kind of depends, and also depends on where the enemy is. Now, blocking spawns is a little bit different. So you have to figure out what is the best position to block spawns for each hardpoint. And so for P4, you generally want to be back here. This is a good spot to sit in this bush during P4, because once you can see this entire line of sight, then your team has the spawns. And so they might even spawn right here next to you. And you guys can all hit the hill if they die in the front. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta make one more interruption in this video to let you guys know my merch is officially available. It is available to all subscribers. The link is at the top of the description. Man, this took me a long time to come up with the designs and pick the right quality and get everything just right. So when it gets in your hands, you guys are happy with it and you have a product that you're actually happy with. And a piece of each purchase is gonna go towards supporting me as well. So if you're on there, you see something you like and you grab it, you're also supporting me in the process of getting something cool for yourself. The link's in the description. Check that out. Now let's get back into the video. It is kind of hard to sit here and block spawns because you're literally out of the play. And if your teammates lose their gunfights, then you're essentially doing nothing at that point besides giving them a good spawn to reposition from. But that is the general gist of it, right? So once you understand, okay, during P1, I spawned here, and once you know you spawn here, then you know the other team can only spawn here or here on the statue side of the map. And sometimes that might be in front of P4. Sometimes that might be in front of art, and it just depends on where your teammates are. And a good rule of thumb is to understand that if your teammate is pushed out, right? If I'm here and I'm looking right here, then the other team could probably spawn inside of art, because by looking at this, I block the spawn of it, right? I don't let them spawn there. Wow, we're losing time on this map. I think what we're gonna do is switch over to Skyline and kind of talk about that a little bit more. All right, so we're back on Skyline here. We're back. Where I want to take this to go a little bit further and a little bit more in depth is talk about parallel spawns, right? So once you understand, if we spawn on the bedroom side of the map, the other team spawns near the piano side, and that gives them options to be top cat, in kitchen, or bottom piano, right? And that kind of gives you an idea of where they're going to come from. Now, let's say we're on P2, and if you spawn somewhere inside of bedroom, there is a good chance, right? And it really depends on where your teammates are, right? And where the other team is. If you have two teammates back here, or one teammate, and there's someone else from the enemy team, and they're having a gunfight, then they're both blocking this entire side of the spawn, right? You're not going to spawn next to your teammate while he's having a gunfight, and neither is the other team. They're not going to spawn next to their teammate. So there's a great chance that you can get parallel spawns, and this basically just means you spawn in parallel with the other team, and this could be a variation, and just understanding that and being able to read that really makes you advance as a player a lot. And there's a lot of times where you might see, for P2 here, it's very simple because you could check the back of the map. And if you see your teammates in a gunfight back there, let's say they both have each other one shot in the back of the map and they're both reloading, they haven't killed each other, or they just killed each other as you died, there's a great chance that the person that your teammate killed and you just died as well, you're going to spawn bottom bed, and the person your teammate killed is going to spawn in like kitchen in front of grass. And so as you're coming out to hit the hill again, you're going to be able to see each other on the cross. And this happens all the time on Skyline, which is why I switched to this map for parallel spawns. What I talked about earlier is getting advanced and being able to block spawns and push the other team out. So what you can do, if you're good enough and your team is good enough, this really takes a skill difference of an entire team, not just one player. But if your teammate is in the back, and this is generally where you can block this entire section of the map, right? So if I'm sitting right here, I am blocking this entire spawn for bedroom, back grass, and yeah, just all of bedroom and back grass. And so the only way this will get flipped is if someone pushes me from any of these locations and we're in a gunfight. Even if I haven't died yet, but that person is looking in this area, then he's going to block the spawn, and anyone who dies on my team is not going to get to spawn here. And if I lose the gunfight, then that guy's teammates will all spawn right here when they die.
Hey, did you know that you can join this channel as a member? YouTube memberships are a way to support me and this channel to keep producing juicy quality content. All you have to do is click the join button next to the subscribe button, pick your tier, and fill out the payment info. Upon joining, you will instantly have access to special one-of-a-kind emojis that you can use in our live chat and YouTube comments. You also get a juice box as a badge of membership that will display in our live chats and YouTube comments as well, with special hangouts in our Discord that are members only. So what are you waiting for? Join the Dibsters Army as an official member today.
Now, when I say right here, you guys have to understand, especially in this game, there's not one dedicated spawn point. It could be right here in the grill. It could be inside of P4. It could be top bedroom. I've even spawned right here sometimes. So it just really depends, but in that general area is what you want to look out for. So when you're predicting spawns, you're not going to be 100% right about what pixel of the map that guy is spawning on, but you'll be able to have a general idea of, okay, they're coming from bedroom side or they're coming from piano side, and you'll be able to detect that. So let's pretend we're on P3 here. If I'm blocking this area, this general area, my teammates can get so pushed out. And because I'm blocking that spawn, if someone is looking mid and someone is on this P3 hill, that other team is literally only going to spawn on this side of the map, right? And it could be here. They might spawn literally right here a couple times. They might spawn right here a few times. or just bottom piano. Generally in this area, I see it happen a lot, back by this tree. And so when you do that, the other team is like spawning so far from the hill. I mean, that's as far as it gets on Skyline. And your team only has to look one way, which is why blocking spawns is really huge. And if you have multiple people on your team that know how to do that for each map, that's what becomes like really key to having a good squad. Because if you're, let's say, it's really hard to have the same person block spawns. And so if I just spawned, all of my teammates are on the hill and we have like the good side of the map, I spawn back grass for P3. And I bring up P3 because it's very easy to get the other team to spawn on the P2 side of the map. On P3, you have that heady behind bar, right? You could just mow them down from this heady. And then you just have one person kind of looking mid, and they can only go top cat to really break the spawn. And that's where the guy in the back is very like crucial to keeping the spawns. And you can even have someone push out right here top bed to look through mid, right? And so when you do that, the other team is stuck spawning in one direction and your team only has to look one way. It just makes the game even that much simpler and that much easier. And honestly, simplifying the game goes a long way, and that's what you want. So a couple things that would be good for you guys to be able to take away from this is understand which side you could possibly spawn on for each hill. And like I said, it's very repetitive or redundant for me to do this for every single hill and every single map. I could do it, but I think it kind of becomes self-explanatory at a certain point, right? So usually behind every single hill, there's a good spawn that you want to have. You don't necessarily have to have someone in a certain spot to block the spawn, but if you're generally, for P2, you're going to have somebody watching the kitchen side of the push, and someone could be sitting right here and watching piano. And then you might probably have two people on the hill looking down at piano, looking at zip and cat doors. And someone that's on the hill could kind of slide out here occasionally and get some kills. And when you do that, you know they're all coming from bottom bed, top cat, or kitchen. That's kind of the 3 lanes of Skyline. And same thing here. You could either spawn bottom bed, like in P4 area, and that'll allow you to push the hill from grass or mid. And same thing here. You're going to spawn in piano. That'll let you hit the hill from this chimney side or mid. And generally that's what I mean by it gets kind of redundant, is the same thing is going to happen for every single map. So once you figure out those 2 spawn locations, you pick a side, and there's usually not a favorable side. You just want one that's closer to the hill, obviously. All right, one thing I did forget to mention while making this video is a lot of times when you do block a certain spawn, it can help you get rotations for the next hill. And that's usually where you decide which side of the map you want to block and which side you want your team to spawn in. And blocking spawns a lot of times can come naturally, like what we talked about with P2 on Skyline. If you're back by the white steps watching kitchen, you're naturally blocking that spawn as long as you have another teammate on the backside of piano where the tree is. So for example, on Vault, this is a great example because P3 on Vault is a hill that you can't really get clean full 60 hill time on. So a great thing to do is set up in a way where you can kill the enemy team off the hill as soon as they get on it. You might be able to get 20-30 seconds off of the hill, but you mainly focus on spawning in right behind P4, having the good spawns, so you spawn really close and you can get close to a full 60 on P4. And the same thing comes in naturally for P3 to P4 on Skyline. If you can block the spawns behind grass, then you have the closer spawn to P4 and you naturally have that rotation. That way you don't have to run across the map and get 25 kills just to flip spawns for your team. So I hope that really explains that section of it. I kind of forgot to mention that while making the video. A lot of times that's the biggest part with blocking spawns, is you want to be able to get the favorable spawn for the next hill and this hill. So sometimes it's just better to block a certain side because it's closer to the next hill, not necessarily because of the current hill. So it's just another way of staying ahead of the game. A lot of times you don't necessarily have to block spawns. Sometimes it's better to have 4 people playing really close to the hill to make sure you play your trades and get those kills. Because what's going to happen is if you can win your trades, let's say your teammate gets a kill, they die, and then you trade that, you die, your other teammate trades you, they die, and then that last teammate gets the trade, and he stays alive, you're all going to spawn right behind that last teammate, right? So sometimes it's a lot better to just all of you guys play the same hill, and no one needs to necessarily block spawns. It just comes down to the point of understanding where the spawns are and where they could possibly come from. Now we're going to jump over to Control, and I'm going to talk about a couple things, because Control, there's only 2 maps that you're generally going to play. I don't have much to say about Hacienda for Control. For Hardpoint, it's kind of the same. You just want to block a certain side of the map, or just understand if I spawn on this side, they're most likely spawning on the other side. Unless someone's blocking that spawn, then you're going to get parallels, and understanding where those parallels could come from just kind of makes everything else self-explanatory. Some of you guys might be thinking, why even worry about spawns for Control? You spawn generally on the same side. You're never going to flip spawns on Control, which is true, but manipulating spawns is where you can really get ahead and play a more advanced game than your opponent. And so what I mean by this...
Now, before we get deeper into this video, let me tell you about today's video sponsor and the new sponsor of the channel, Cinch Gaming. They're a controller company that makes Hall effect sticks, hands down the best pro controller company on the market right now. Now, I just got one. I got mouse click triggers, mouse click buttons all over, 4 back buttons, and obviously they're remappable. Now the coolest part about this, and the reason I decided to partner up with Cinch Gaming, is that they have Hall effect sticks. If you guys have been watching me for the past couple years, you'll know that I have literally went through hundreds of controllers I've bought and returned, and the reason for that is usually they can't last more than 2 weeks without stick drift. You don't know, when you play an FPS game, stick drift is a killer. It'll ruin your gameplay experience. Now basically, when you press down on the sticks of your controller, traditional controllers and a lot of pro gaming controllers, there's going to be some plastic in there. Now, after a certain amount of time of wear and tear of moving the stick around, pushing it down and stuff like that, that plastic is going to wear down and it causes stick drift, where your aim or your camera just moves by itself without you touching the sticks. What Cinch Gaming has done is they have a magnetic technology that's in there. It's called Hall effect sticks. These are basically guaranteed to never get stick drift for a lifetime unless you damage or break the controller itself. So it was a no-brainer for me. You get one controller, you don't need to replace it every year, every month, every 6 months. For me, it was like every 2 weeks, but I'm thrilled to have this. Also, they have PS5 and Xbox. If you're on console, you're good to go either way. I'm on PC, so I got the PS5 controller so I can overclock it and have that nice, sweet, low response time. Now, if you guys want to check them out, the link's going to be in the description, and you can use code DIB at checkout for 10% off and a way to support me. Now, let's get back into the video.
It's very simple. And it works the same for Vault and Protocol. It's actually funny. These maps are very identical in a lot of ways. So for Vault, the main trick here is to get either in Art or into P4. And so if you get into either one of these buildings, they're very identical actually, right? If you get into this building on offense, every kill that your teammate gets, it's going to make the enemy spawn back P4, right? They could spawn on the side here sometimes, but these are generally the 3 spawn points, literally. And if you can do that and sit right here, your team's going to be able to capture the point, and the enemy is going to spawn so far that it's going to be very hard for them to come across. You can get a couple kills here, turn around, watch your flank, and it's very simple for you for your team to capture B. Now, it's a lot harder said, or it's a lot easier said than done, because a lot of times you'll kill 3 and there's usually going to be an enemy that's mid-map and he's going to flank you guys. So it just takes like some team coordination for your team, but that's generally how you can manipulate spawns on Control on this map. And I'll show you guys on defense how it works as well. But even when you're capturing A, if you can get someone, some people think it's pointless and you'd rather stack the point. And that's where Control can just be, there's a lot of different ways to play it, and it's very situational in my opinion. Sometimes you'll get 4 dead, and there's no point for you to go top Art or top E4. It's better for you to get on the point with your team so you guys can capture the point as fast as possible. There's other times your teammates are getting a couple kills, they're getting traded out, you guys can't get a 4 wipe that easily. And if you see the opportunity for you to get up in their spawn and make things difficult for them, then it's a good thing to do. And so if I'm here, they're all spawning Art, and it just gives them a little bit further to walk to get to A. And so I can basically guarantee no one's going to be top cat as long as we have a 4 wipe, right? We know they're all off spawn. And I can just give call outs. You can even ping, you know, get a little ratty and give some live pings to your teammates. And it makes things a lot easier to do. Now, let me capture this point and we're going to talk about defense on Vault as well. And it's going to work the same way on Protocol. We'll jump over to Protocol actually after this and I'll show you guys what I mean. All right, so I got to be really fast when I explain this because we only got 40 seconds on the clock. But essentially, when you're defending on Vault, you want to get pushed up here. And as long as you can get right here, you're looking at this entire spawn point. And if you look away for 3 seconds and your teammates get kills, there's a chance someone could spawn there as soon as you look away, even if you're standing right here. And if you look again, you might see someone just spawn in. But when you're looking here, you're going to block this spawn. And you could just sit there on that heady, block it. When you block this spawn, they're all going to spawn in P2. Right? They could spawn in it, they could spawn behind it. And if you have a teammate sitting top cat, they just mow them down, and that's how you kind of get the spawn trap going for Vault. Now on Protocol, the spawn trap is very easy on defense. You're either going to spawn on the left side towards the helicopter, or on the right side next to the gun in the back. And we're actually going to go to Protocol so I can show you guys exactly what I mean. But on offense, it's also the same as Vault, where you push out their house and they all spawn at a different location. I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. So perfect, we're on defense here, or on offense, I mean. So for defense, when you're coming the other way, the enemy could spawn literally where I'm standing, usually on these steps right here, or a little bit to my left in front of this SAM site, or a little bit more to the right next to the heli, right? It's very common, it's very basic. There's not much to explain there. And you could literally sit in this house and spawn trap away at your heart's extent. But for offense, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's just like Vault, where if I get into this house and I look right here, this is where the enemy spawns, right, when they're defending. And so if my teammates are on A and we get, you know, just a couple kills, they're all going to spawn right here, which is very close to the hill, or to the A point. Now, if I can just stand in the house and look down that way, I not only block this entire house, and I'm guaranteeing no one's going to be down here to look through the windows. My teammate, I can have, you know, you can have one teammate look to the right, and you can even have someone just sit mid-gun to watch the mid-map. But essentially, once you push this house out, they should all, you know, if they spawn here, you're going to have the kills. And once you do get those kills, and you just look at this location, they're all going to spawn here, behind the lighthouse. And when you're playing the game, you'll kind of notice that. So if someone pushes out your bottom doubles, that's what I call this house. If they push this out, you're going to spawn back tower and you're going to be forced to flood through P2. And whoever is sitting mid-gun can kind of mow everything down as it just comes. Because, you know, on control, once you get on the point, you're forcing the enemy and the defensive team to really make some decisions. And they got to either throw nades at you or run at you. They got to do something, right? Because you're on the point, you're capturing it. So it's as easy as just sitting here and mowing them down as they run at you. Now, you guys let me know in the comments what you think about this video overall, because depending on the feedback that you guys give me for this video, I'm going to make another video about lines of sight and, you know, uncommon spots to sit in. One thing I could already think about is obviously whether you're on defense or offense on this map, to help the B point, you can easily sit here and help your teammates. Usually when you're capturing and you're sitting here, you're just kind of blocking anyone else from being able to get here. But on defense, it's a great place to sit. You have this nice heady. You can come up from multiple spots. And you see the entire point from here. So it's a great spot to sit. But let me know if you guys want me to make like a full in-depth video. I got a couple lineups for frags, Semtex, and kind of, you know, uncommon spots to sit in. Not necessarily like this, but one that I've done a few times is just kind of sitting down here. No one ever looks here when they're running down the hill. So you can basically guarantee this entire push just by sitting here. You can get a couple kills and then move, because they're going to know you're there after you get those kills. But, oh, there's Q-tips here. I never noticed Q-tips, bro. So yeah, let me know what you guys think if you guys want that video. And let me know what you guys think about this video altogether. Is there something I missed about the spawn logic of the game? If you guys have any tips that I should have included or I forgot to include, let me know. But it's just that easy. Understand the 2 spawns for each hardpoint. block the one that favors your team for that situation. And sometimes you don't even have to block it, just knowing that, you know, if we spawn here, they're going to spawn on the other spawn point. But if we do spawn here and I have a teammate blocking the other spawn point, then they're going to spawn in the third parallel spawn point. It sounds very complicated, but it's not that complicated once you play the game a few times and you kind of understand the flow. So I hope it made sense to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like on it. I'd really appreciate that. And let me know in the comments if you guys want that video with the lineups for the frags and the uncommon spots as well. I'll get on that next. Yeah, I love y'all. I'll see you on the next one.